Right, now that we have set up our flight, we've gone through and done a couple of checks, and what I've noticed is there's a few things that I've missed that I want to capture just before we start generating our kneeboard. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our Trident flight, and I'm going to make sure that we have our a few things set. So the first thing is we're not going to have air-to-air TACAN. That's not something we routinely use or ever use for intra-flight, but we do have a flight frequency, and that is going to be 234. So as I demonstrated earlier with the other flights, I am going to set those. Now hopefully whenever I click on any of these later steer points, you'll see that that frequency is maintained. Okay, so now that we've got that, the next thing we want to do is we'll look at the kneeboard and the coordination card. So the coordination card, I'm not going to see all of this in this window, but is a useful tool, especially when you have multiple elements flying. So in this case, we know that it's just us, but the ingress flow, target flow, and egress flow are dependent on some of these push points, exit points, etc. So these timings all here are actually driven by those. Now, whilst this isn't very useful for a single ship, when you do have to coordinate between multiple flights, these timings can be very, very useful. So let's move that out of the way for the time being. And the next thing I'm going to talk about really quickly is the kneeboard. So this is the real value that this package of software provides us. So here we have got our kneeboard data, and it's pulled all this information as we've previously inputted it. So it knows we've got these different flights. If we wanted to, we can do kneeboards for individual aircraft, but we're not going to do that today. We're just going to do one for Trident. It's taken the strike data, the loadout data. We can add weather data into CombatFlite if you want to, if you know what the weather's going to be. I'm not going to do that today, so essentially it's just assumed CAV OK. And you can see here the departure, arrival, and alternate airports have also been pulled in. Unfortunately, it's not smart enough to know which direction we're heading or what the prevailing winds will be at any given time. So we will be planning on using runway 13 and 07 bitumen and coverability respectively. So we can add those. Now, if you wanted to be really nice to your wingman, you can stick their name in here and you can overwrite it. It will only keep it for the time that this screen is in use. So you'll see that the waypoints are all added here. I'm going to do a quick cursory check to make sure that they're all at 360, which they are, although I noted that there's one Batumi. In fact, let's go back out and figure that out. So Batumi is at 0.55, which probably means that, yeah, our true airspeed is selected instead of calibrated airspeed. So we can fix that real quick. So we can go back to our kneeboard now. And then we can see that I've selected the wrong flight. We can see hopefully that airspeed correction has been made. It has been. There's another on the saddle. I'm not going to lose too much sleep about that right now. But it has, as we can see, forgotten about the changes we made here. So it's important to check all this out. So our waypoints are set. We know that our targets are there, but the thing that we note here is that it's put our degree minute decimal format for that long, which we don't want for the Harrier. So I'm actually going to change that. If you auto-generate it, it may get rid of other elements. So we're going to keep that intact. So that's kept our details up here. And then you can see all of the information now is in this 4-digit degree minute second. Now, when you see a 4-digit second like this, all we're going to do is just round it up to the two most significant digits. So if we take one of these as an example, 4725 is just going to be 47. And 5927 is going to be 59. We'll round up as, in this case, 3065 will be 31. Next up, let's check. We've got our agencies, so we've got our AWACS and Tanker, Overlord and Texaco respectively, the frequencies that we put in there and the TACANs that we put in. If there are other packages, so for example, if we're operating with Seed or CapFlight, then they would all be in here. and then we can see that there are threats that we can add. So in this case, we can, if we wanted to, we can say, well, there's a closed LSU 23. Not that important for this flight, but it's there if we need it. And that's essentially it. So we're going to hit generate images. It's going to save that as a PNG. And we're going to let it do its thing. Whilst that's thinking, I'm going to open this up. So the default location for these is the documents CombatFlite kneeboard of your particular user, and it will generate those files. And this is what they look like. So you normally start with one, which is an overview, which looks a bit messy, but you kind of see what's going on. And then you can scroll through those, and it'll go through each leg. So you can see we're departing Batumi. We're tracking 115 at 7 nautical miles to get into the valley, and then we're just following the valley through till our 90 left at the plane, through into Baghdadi, up to our lake IP, into our target area, and then egressing out to our exit point. And you can see here that the forward line of enemy troops and the threats have all been included, as have the DMPIs. Now you can do more stuff with the DMPIs, you can assign them to particular targets. We haven't done that today, but it's a feature that you might want to use if you want to split DMPIs between different members of a flight or different flights. So it's important that we just note that you can see by reducing the size of these icons, it's not going to be too cluttered. I've set up my kneeboards to give me some critical information that I want at any given time. So the first thing is it's going to give me the heading for each leg, the distance of each leg, the speed that I'm planning on flying at, and my altitude. And you can see these markers are the minute markers as for the entire route. So you can see on the right hand side I've configured it. So at minute 17 I should be just starting my egress route. But it's also got these markers on the left, which are the individual timings for that particular leg. So if we look at one of these longer legs, you can see that this is about 3-minute leg. And then finally, you'll have these tables that come along, which are what we talked about earlier in the overview. And they've got this data that you can use for inputting into your nav kit in your aircraft. And that's it. Hopefully that was useful. Got any questions, please add them. You've got comments, tips, recommendations, I'm all ears. Let's keep, I'd like to keep updating this particular series to make sure it's relevant to people, and I will do a follow-on with some more advanced features.